Like, Animal Crossing isn't my favorite art style, but I've never really been, like, a downer about the graphics. I'll make fun of them, of course, because they're funny, but I've never... If it's a good story or it's good action or what have you... I don't know why that made me think of Jet Force Gemini, but did any of you play Jet Force Gemini? Back in the day, me and my brothers, when we actually still, like, you know, lived together and we were all young and went to grandma's house and stuff, my dad had this van, which was probably not a very safe van. It was called the Elvis Mobile. Alright. Because he liked Elvis and it had Elvis stuff in it. And we would take road trips up to Pennsylvania, and we would bring the N64, because they'd actually hook up. Like, this was back in, like, 1999 or something like that. But this van actually had a little TV. And, we would play the N64. And I remember Jet Force Gemini, to me, it was just, like, so amazing. I loved the art style, but I was also, like, literally 8 years old, so... I have not gone back to see if it's as good as I remember. Anyways. Ever dream for our first... map of this best of 3. In the top right, it is the blue Protoss Shadown. In the bottom left, as the green Protoss, it is GungFuBanda. He's been, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, was a little out of the scene due to some, well, drama a little bit. But he's been back playing Starcraft, and is always a very decent Protoss. And right now, Europe is full of Protosses, so your PvP has to be pretty good to actually win these qualifiers. And both of these guys have good PvP. I have just naturally gravitated towards Shadown, just because I get to cast him so much. Just, yeah, one of those things. So, Shadown beat Fuser, and the winner of this will go into a qualifying match against, apparently, Drogo, because Ashbringer never showed up. So, that's the plan, probably, for the... next 2 series, perhaps the rest of the stream, depending on the timing of the other qualifier matches. But yeah, these are certainly not the longest qualifiers we've ever cast. I'm so used to, especially for Europe, you know, 128 players sign up, and there's a lower bracket, it takes 7 hours, but no, these are super quick. Hello, hello. Some older 6 holds a special place in my heart. I actually played Final Fantasy VI 2 or 3 years ago for the first time, and it's in my top 3. Alright, so what are our openers here? Shadown has the Lie Pylon. Should I call that pylon a lie? Both going into robos, both getting some pretty safe shield batteries. Well, one at the front, okay, yeah. No one bothering to go for the main base shield batteries. I don't know if they scouted each other's first units. They both went 2 Soccer, 2 Sentry, but I mean, they might just kind of be like, you know, hedging their bets a little bit. But they are both going for the same build, intentionally or not. Scouting or just guesswork or not, you know, whatever. The Oracle is kind of funny. I don't know if Shadown will take this seriously. I think you gotta. I think you know it could be hallucination, but since his hallucination doesn't do any damage, he can't actually tell. So that is going to be a pro pool, and then he realizes, oh wait, that's actually fake. Very quickly he realized that was fake. So just scouting on both sides, they see, I mean, really just mimicking each other. Forge is much faster for GungFu, I should say that. Much faster Forge here, +1 immediately. And the Oracle was able to scout the Robo actually producing. Or I guess I should say that the Forge was delayed. Is maybe the better way to put it. Didn't see a Forge. Unfortunately, I didn't see it start either, so that would be a little bit concerning. You see it start, I think maybe that's a bit better intel, but I'll see if he takes any damage from some very light Warp Prism harassment. We're not talking about Resonating Glaive, not talking about Charged or Archons. I mean, he's just a couple of Stalkers looking to pick off a Stalker that's, you know, scouting, or a Sentry that's a lot of position, or maybe a Probe or 2, but reaching all the way into the mineral line would be quite dangerous. So I don't know about that. Shadow not going for any immortal production, I was going to say, might just go ahead and go straight into charge, as well as Templar Archives. There's a weird thing that's happened a while ago and sometimes shows itself again, where immortals are, I mean, for most of PvP, really, ever since the 4-gate finally stopped being the thing to do back in Wings of Liberty, immortals have been considered pretty good. They're anti-armor. They live a long time. People found out you could micro them with warp prisms. I mean, there's no arguing, right? Immortals are good. But people kind of realized that there was a way to combat any immortals that you could be up against, right? Either you didn't make immortals, or you lost immortals and have to come back, or you're just looking to do an attack. You don't necessarily need to produce immortals, which are quite expensive, right? You can just go to charge and Archons. And up until a point, it's like immortals are kind of king for a little while, then Archons are actually king for a while, and then if the game really goes on for a long time and you just stay on Zealot, Immortal, Archon, then immortals become really good again. And they're all in the back line being protected by like 10 plus Archons. But right now, the standard 2 immortals wouldn't help very much against a mass influx of Zealots. They don't kill Zealots very quickly, and they can't micro away from Zealots very well. And the Zealots chop them up good enough with a bit of a surround. So that's what we have the biggest differences here for this game. GungFu's going for a 3rd base, Shadown's going for a 3rd base. I would be really shocked if Shadown just didn't push, if he actually waited for +2. As I do think if you wait for +2, then the Immortal talk I was just given there, where it gets good again, does start to come into play. But maybe that's exactly what he's planning. And his Warp Prism, no, that's actually not even his Warp Prism. GungFu's Warp Prism's waiting to do a couple of Immortal drops. There is a decent amount of units prepared to deal with that, but where is, that's a fake. Wait a minute, I'm confused. There we go. There we go. It's in a harassment spot, never actually was used. So it looks like he's waiting for +2. I mean, that'd still give him more Archons. But, oh, this is awkward. Oh, this is so awkward. Oh my god, Probe, stop it. Stop it! What are you doing, Probe? Oh my god. I mean, that warping probably happens if the stalkers are in location, but, awkward. Immortals want to be saved, not the Zealots, but unfortunately, Shadown is going to be able to mop up the Zealots very quickly. He has recoiled away from his 3rd base that is now unguarded. A decent amount of units looking to tear that down before Shadown can respond. It looks like he's just going to have to give that up. He's still chasing the Warp Prism. So a really nice 1-2 punch. Archons against Immortals will work fine for Shadown's defense, but the damage has already been done. He's also had his +2 delayed as GungFu finishes up his +2. And GungFu was able to skedaddle with almost all of his units. Still has his 2 Immortals alive in the Warp Prism, and it's just looking to be better right now in this PvP. Up 12 workers, up to a 3rd Nexus here. There's a big old warp in now finally for Shadown, finally using that Warp Prism he got so early on. 4 Zealots in the natural going to be maybe cleaned up before doing too much damage. The main not looking so hot for him there. Shadown not really getting equalizing damage done. And, oh, loses the Warp Prism as well. I mean, he might grab another Stalker, but this is not what he wanted. They also definitely wanted that Warp Prism to be alive and help this push that he is now just doing, probably because he's throwing his hands up in the air and saying, this you know, matchup's stupid, I hate it. Something along those lines. +2 is finishing for him, but it'll just be an equal upgrade, get him down 10 army supply. Big ol' warp in of Zealots in his own natural means that this is going to be a full all-in, maybe a pseudo base trade, but we'll see. I mean, GungFu is using that higher army supply to also attack into his opponent's natural, right? So this army that is defending his own natural, his own 3rd, isn't actually that big. They both are hallucinating Archons as well, and I don't see any observers, but it could be blind. There is one available for GungFu, so he sees his army actually will not attack those hallucinated Archons. They could still be providing some type of Sim City. It looks like it won't be good enough, and GungFu will take game number 1. Shadown lost 30 probes back in his side of the map. Thank you, Gareth8, for the 8-month resub. Look at that. You did the thing. The pylon show ended up being all team owners.
Captain, we are being hosted.
Thank you for that host. Pharaoh you Cyril. That's the best attempt I got. Hey guys, I have a question for you. Is Cliff Notes still a thing? If I say I'll get the Cliff Notes, do people just have no idea what I'm talking about? Let me know. We're on Ice and Chrome. The top right as the blue Protoss down 1, he is Shadown. The bottom left as the green Protoss, he is GungFuBanda. Take a look at their previous history. Since there's so many good Protoss constantly PvPing each other in this region, I'm actually getting a little... I have to realize that I am misremembering many matches. I think they've played a billion times and they've played twice, or vice versa. It looks like Shadown and GungFu have not played in anything that is notable, for a Ligulac at least. That is really shocking to me. I feel like they have, but, okay. Do I trust a Ligulac? It's been so trustworthy in the past. GungFuBanda apparently number 4 in Germany. That sounds so confusing. Wow. So apparently this is the first time they're playing. Alright. Okay. I'll go with it for now. Another fake pylon here from Shadown, and very much so the same place. Different map, but basically the same place. Both getting a scout, GungFu a little more direct though. He's gonna see that missing second pylon, see the third pylon. They know the exact timings, because it's a mirror matchup. The easiest thing you can do is go, well, I have a second pylon, where's their second pylon? Seems so easy. 2 Stalkers for GungFu, 2 Adepts for Shadown, so we do have a difference already from the last PvP, which they opened very, very similar to each other. Shadown didn't go for the Immortals, was one of the bigger differences, but obviously it didn't end up being the game-deciding difference. Not at all. It was his unfortunate response to the Warp Prism harassment with the third base getting torn down. It just was not something he could really catch up on. The recall was too much into the main. Probably could have split his forces a bit better. Because otherwise their supplies weren't like so disastrous that he had to recall literally everything to one location or another. It just was an unfortunate, hasty decision that ended up really working against him. 2 more Adepts. We'll see if Shadown goes all the way up to 6. Okay, he already has. I miscounted. Counting's hard. So going up to 6, you can actually bust down a pylon or a shield battery. Some people actually, cool enough, have been going for cybernetics cores to block out when they figure out that's what you're doing, right? When you see 6 Adepts, they kind of have to use the 6 Adepts. Keeping them at home not doing anything is just, I mean, it's just nothing. It's like, they're not going to help as you go into the rest of the game, right? So, you know, they'll help against 4 Stalkers, that's true at the very least. Usually they're looking more so to break down this little problem here. Well, they can't do that if GungFu is on top of things. They can't do that if they are just staying back at home. There was a neat little shade back for Shadown to try and micro to the best of his ability against the Stalkers while waiting for more Adepts to show up. But unfortunately, Adepts just don't kill units very quickly, and there's the recall, very nicely timed from GungFu to entirely save his soccer count. Things looking much better for GungFu right now. Shadown down to 5 adepts out of the 8 he tried to build up. And with 8, I just feel like he still might go for Resident Glaze, but we'll see about that. But yeah, about the Cybernex Core. Cybernex Core is the fastest building with a decent amount of health building that you can actually grab. So shield batteries will get torn down, pylons will get torn down, but Cybernex Core is, while a little bit more expensive, won't get torn down if you're quick enough. But a force field also works. The Adept Shade just simply didn't go through because the building was there to block it. So while it's blocked, you found a force field, boom. Gotta be a little good about the timing, but GungFu was very good about the timing. And Shadown is forced to, well, not even really retreat. He mostly just died. Down to 2 adepts, 1 very, very weak. Hallucinated Phoenix gets in here and scouts, probably confirming his expectation, his suspicion that it is going to be Resident Glaves. Twilight Council, I think, was seen enough to know that it was lighting up at the very least. It's one of the more difficult production facilities, technology facilities, to see that it's actually working. Unless you're watching the Phoenix as it drives by, but regardless. Pretty sure he knows, and he's just going to go ahead and attack. And there's one thing for certain, you take down that many adepts, you don't lose your probes, you don't lose your own units, you're going to have a bigger army supply. Your probe count might not be any bigger than your opponent, it's actually not, but your army supply is going to be bigger. And Shadown is not yet reaping the rewards of the Resident Glaze investment. He's also waiting on 3 more gateways, and GungFu might not win straight up with this push. 2 Immortals are available. I think he could do some damage. If those Immortals get pushed to the front one at a time, that could be very, very problematic. Very bad. So Shadown is in a bit of emergency mode here. A shield battery's on the way. 2 Adepts. I don't think, well, they get blocked out anyways. They get blocked out anyways. Shield battery's gonna go down, which means no Nexus overcharge. That might have been what he was trying to do. Maybe he chronoed something, I'm not sure, but either way. Force fields do not push the Immortals forward, but rather push them back out of the equation of the actual fight. It's a little bit awkward, though. There's actually a lot of not fighting that happened there because of each other's force fields. So, with that many units, GungFu can't really try and target on a Nexus or anything, and he does just fall back, but now has an 8-worker lead. Has the immortal count growing as well. He doesn't need to match his opponent to feel really safe. And he's building a bunch of shield batteries. He'd probably feel a lot better if he had Archons available, but his Twilight Council only just recently finished and immediately going into Blink, actually, not in the Temple Archives. He should know about the Adepts coming over here, and Force Fields, Shield Batteries, and Archons are really a fantastic way to deal with them. But Cannons are also kind of a way to do it. We have seen some static defenses of this build, especially with the shield battery, especially with the overcharged shield battery, of which it is now available. No, 25 more? Okay, there it is. That was weird. But yeah, I was pretty sure it was 50. Anyways, a couple force fields pushing away the non-adept armor. Of course, the adepts do get into the main base. An attempt to wall, I think, is what happened there, but it's a very interesting choice. The adepts shade out anyways. Now GungFu, he could try and fully wall off now. Okay, that's what he's gonna try and do, but it's too late! It's too late! Oh no, no Archons available. The force field's gonna be pretty good here. Hello? Hello? Okay, that was a little bit late, but it's still gonna work out. War Prism could try and elevator a lot of these units forward, but that's obviously not gonna be ideal. Shield overcharge on the high ground battery is definitely gonna help out a lot, but so many of GungFu's army units are not attacking. They're all on the low ground. Finally, the force field breaks. Another one comes down, but again, a little bit late. Only a couple of desperate force fields here from GungFu to try and do something to help out, but Blink might be done. The Stalkers are hesitant to do so when 2 Immortals are still alive and so many Adepts are still alive. 11 probes have gone down, putting Shadown in the economic lead, so he doesn't even necessarily have to win right here, but he has taken control of the high ground. GungFu's got Blink, he's got +1, he has 2 Immortals. Maybe he can make the defense work and initiate an immediate counterattack. Another engagement going down. Shadown's War Prism still very healthy. Could also help Micro with the high ground advantage. 2 gateways have been depowered, now being destroyed. Cybernetic Core was also one of the first structures to fall. So we actually had a problem where GungFu could have tried replacing some of these Stalkers. He couldn't actually do so. And he is just going to tap out. GG. Shadown ends up winning with a Resident Glaze push. I thought it was pretty scouted. I thought he would be prepared for it, but he was prepared for it. He definitely knew it was on the way with the cannons and the shield batteries and the natural. He just didn't actually cover all of his weak points. His weak point basically being the wall. Spark Notes now? Sounds like a ripoff of Cliff Notes. Aura de Mort. Oh. I actually don't know all those words. This wasn't a qualifying match, was it? No. I think Ashbringer might have actually contacted Drogo at like the last second. Because Drogo hasn't been walked over. Then again, the bracket is actually just behind because Shadown still hasn't been moved forward either. So I don't know. For now, I'm going to guess that it is the winner of this faces Drogo. Alright, they're ready to go. Death Aura, our final map here. I'm gonna grab some water. Oh, nailed it. Barely even noticed I was gone. Oops. Top left, we have Shadown. Bottom right, it is GungFuBanda. I got my Pakori Sweat. Which, if you'd ever tried it, guys, I don't really think it's like a highlight of Korea or Japan. I think it's available in Japan as well. But you actually can, I would suggest trying it. You gotta try Hot Six, you gotta try Pakori Sweat, you gotta try all the sojus if you ever go to Korea. They got some weird stuff over there, too. I don't know, I just love going to different countries and just going to grocery stores and convenience markets, you know? I think it's actually the most fun I have. Which means that when I take people to different locations and I'm like, ooh, I'm excited to try this new CVS, they're like, what are you doing? This isn't fun. And I'm like, oh, I guess it isn't.
Resubscription received. Apparently you are doing something right, Captain.
When Pakori Sweat is warm, it's kind of like a flat fresca, but when it's cold, it's kind of like thick water. And that's what I'm sticking with. That's how I'm explaining it, so there's no other way to explain it. Thank you, Mac Descents, for the 5-month resub. I went on a recent, just, I don't know, nostalgia trip of... God, I really miss Korea. I've gone to Korea every year for 5 years at this point. Twice, I think I paid for it with miles, which is really nice. But I guess now I would usually be planning a trip for like GSL vs. the World or GSL Finals or something. Well, you know how it is. There's no trips planned. Alright, so Shadown has been doing some later probe scouts, which means that he doesn't really get the chance, I guess, to, like, not that you ever would, but he definitely doesn't have the chance to just stick his probe in here until death. Protoss players, they get full scouts of their probe up until a certain point, basically until these two units pop out, right? Or these two units, actually. And then they leave. They don't actually want to lose that probe. So, the Stargate 1 base can sometimes come down before, like, you know, after the probe leaves, I should say, and that's what happened here. But if the probe actually wants to stick around, they have to delay it a little bit awkwardly. What's funny is that a lot of Protosses don't even bother to probe scout their opponent's main base anymore, so the 1 base Stargate's, like, I don't know if it's come back, but it's kind of tricky in this era of PvP. Whatever, point is, the Stargate was not scouted. Now, the lack of a Nexus is going to be scouted. The later Nexus, at this point, is going to be scouted, and there's only 1 or 2 things that that really means. If they're 3 getting you, they're probably not going to get a Nexus. They're actually going to be attacking you, basically, right now with a bunch of Stalkers. If they're 1 base roboing, it's probably because they're afraid of you doing something, which wouldn't make any sense, considering what Shadown has been doing. He's always hidden this pylon and done nothing with it. So the third and most likely option, right, would be an Oracle. So there's a shield battery in the main, a shield battery in the natural. Shadown's not taking any chances, especially because he's being so aggressive with, once again, the mass adept opener. 6 adepts, as I've been saying, can bust through that shield battery, no problem. Dynamic score's a bit different, though. Nice. I'm so glad I actually get to see an example of this being used. The more health something has, the slower it builds a lot of the time. But it is that ratio of... Oh my god! Oh my god, that's like one of the best stasis traps I've ever seen. It grabbed all the probes and it grabbed the sentries. Oh my god. Funnily enough, there wasn't many probes to kill with any more energy here, but anyways, Adepts get into the natural and... What was he even talking about? I can't actually believe it happened. Adepts get into the main. Not gonna get too much done here, thankfully for Shadown, but wow, okay. Anyways, I was trying to say that's a ratio between how much health something has and how fast it builds. So there you go. But wow, those the oracles, because it was so anticipated. Shadown knew it was going to happen here and thought he had a chance to bust down the front door, but oh, he might have it now actually. No, the force will be available. Man, GungFu, he's making up for last game at least. Well, so far he is. Let's not forget that in the last game, he actually held the first Adepts, 6, 8 Adepts pretty well. It was the Adept all-in that really chipped him up, so... Once again, holding them well. A little bit worse until now, actually. He had killed so many of the Adepts, but now the Oracle's on top of them. Stalkers have to take that shade very seriously. Probes have to be pulled here, and a couple will die. Won't be too much damage. Actually, a lot of tit for tat. Workers coming out even, army coming out pretty even, as the Adept should be able to somewhat escape. Yeah, not bad. Double chrono here on the Nexus for GungFu. How about Shadown? He's actually chronoing out the Immortal, so... GungFu, with Oracle still alive as well, probably has a higher chance of taking the economic lead. The Adepts really should run out of steam soon. But he's also taking the bigger chance there. So he's also grabbing a third Nexus, going for Blink, looking to control the map, control the game, and also get faster expansions. Shadown's going to be getting that stronger army. That's the trade-off. Which makes it somewhat interesting. But, he needs to also recognize what's going down. The Adepts have not only not done anything in the main base as far as damage, they also haven't gotten much scouting. They finally get to the natural to at least see the gas timings. And see only the third taken, which again, if you're ever in doubt as to what your opponent is doing, if you know your build, you can look at your gases and be like, well, I have this, so what is he going for? They did not scout the third Nexus, and they did not scout the main, but he could possibly be piecing things together with the amount of Stalkers that have been shown here. So it will be Blink versus Blink, and with Blink versus Blink, there's a possibility we see Disruptors as well. Shadown's gonna add on a bunch of gateways while finishing up +1 in Blink, and might just look for an attack. It's dangerous though. 2 Oracles will bypass the shield battery. Stalkers will control the engagement Ideally, anyways, for GungFu, since his blink is faster. So, I mean, Shadown, I think he might attack and take a third Nexus. That's what I'm expecting, anyways. Never seen so many types of Kit Kat until I went to Korea. Yeah, I mean, Korea has a lot of imports from Japan, but mostly people always freak out about Japan's Kit Kat availability. There's GungFu trying to control the map. If Shadown was planning on getting a Nexus, you know, not probing it up obviously, but if he was planning on getting a Nexus, that's no longer really an option. We're going into base trade territory. A bunch of warpins on the high ground. Just Stalkers, though, and there are more Stalkers for GungFu. Alongside the Stasis Traps are now being planted in that natural. But Shadown's also attacking into GungFu, warps in a bunch of Zealots who don't quite yet have charge. So they're going to look a little bit lame. Shield Battery is depowered, and GungFu is simply going to give up that third Nexus. Force Filter used here to block out the probes, so a lot of damage done on either side. But yeah, who's going to come out on top? Using the blink to push into the probes might be something he regrets as more Stalkers get warped in for Shadown. We're at 15 Stalkers to 11, actually in favor of Shadown, but obviously his army's a little bit more split. Actually, they're both pretty damn split. Recall happens for GungFu, so he does collect his forces, and another Stasis Trap just hit a lot more Stalkers. So, I mean, maybe the recall wasn't totally necessary as far as running away from this. It might have been necessary as far as defending against this. GungFu currently has the better supplies, up 13 workers. He still has the third Nexus, and his army supply is even looking better as his +1 finally finishes up to even himself out with Shadown. It looks so much better for GungFu. He's got that charge to add in. The only thing GungFu doesn't have is Immortals and, well, a lot of Force Fields. He doesn't have the Force Fields. That is a good point. Good Protoss can really make Force Fields look super overpowered. Shadown was already pretty much all in, but it's extra all in. No more warp-ins available, even with the Warp Prism. It's going to be used just purely for the micro of the Immortals, I would guess, which is pretty damn important. Ooh, he needs to keep it alive. However, a couple more sentries available for GungFu. There's the blink forward to grab the Warp Prism, actually, so no micro. Not that there were any reinforcements, so he takes them out of the equation as well. Immortals not being focus fire, but it might not matter. All the sentries are down, not many more force fields. All the Stalkers have really been cut down to size. The shield overcharge on this battery here. And it does feel like GungFu is going to be winning this one. Taking the 2-1 to face Drogo in the qualifying match. Best of 5. Well done, GungFu. Thank you, Bayesian Empermancer, for the 12-month resub.